Perfect. Well, okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So Joel, we're obviously here and we're going to be talking with Joel about the power of video content marketing. So we're doing this workshop in conjunction with Indomitus Media. And so for those of you guys that know Skol Marketing, I'm Ben Tice, the owner of Skol Marketing. We help small businesses get online and enhance their online presence. But my favorite part of my job is being able to do free workshops and webinars to help individuals and businesses and marketing interested people like yourselves really kind of understand these things. And so we're really excited to be able to partner with Joel to get a little bit more information, a little bit different perspective, in that they do actually a lot of the video production for clients around the Twin Cities. And I'll actually turn it over to Joel to introduce himself a little bit more before we actually get into this.
Thanks so much, Ben, and thanks so much for having me. And I want to send some gratitude for everybody jumping on here today and taking their time out of their schedules to learn more. So a little quick synopsis of my story. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a gym and a personal training company and have gotten into the media side of things out of almost a necessity, and understanding where video has started even 8, 9, 10 years ago, where with this whole social media thing where we just post pictures and long form sayings and stuff like that, to watching it develop into video and video becoming everything, and the direction where it's going. My partner Travis and I founded Indomitus Media. And so I've been doing video for a long time just on my own with my own phone. I've played with every single editing app and software that you can on your phone. I do my own DIY videos, and I've gotten to a point where I can do them very quickly. And then I also have Indomitus Media. So if we do more professional type videos, we have that ability as well. Or I have that ability, and we also help other companies throughout, like Ben said, the Twin Cities, fulfill their needs, whether it's for SEO, whether it's for their social media, YouTube, whatever they need created, we have the ability to do that. But personally, where I've got into this is because I saw such a need for entrepreneurs, business owners, solopreneurs, who need video, and it's almost intimidating. I guess if you want to throw in the comments, how many people are intimidated by doing video when it comes to their business? And you can just say I or no, because I know for myself, I was extremely intimidated by it, getting on camera. Where do I start? Where do I post it? There's so many questions. What platform do I get on? What's going to be the best? I don't know. How do I build a following? And then it's almost like you're in the entertainment business when you get into video. And how many people, we didn't get into business necessarily to be entertainers. We got into business to be in business for whatever it is, to serve whatever clients. And now this whole video thing, people, just from what I hear from our clients and my friends who are in businesses, I wasn't expecting to have to shoot my own commercials and do all this and talk to people. But I bear with me here, because I 100% believe that it is the wave of the future, and it's only getting started. So the more you can educate yourself on what it does for your business from an SEO standpoint, but also from a marketing standpoint, it's just going to help your business grow. So.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, awesome. So with that, just a couple reminders. Again, everyone is muted, so make sure that if you do want to ask a question, to put it into the chat, and we'll make sure that we get those answered either during the presentation or afterwards. But, again, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So what we're going to be talking about is is really going to be the growth of video, really the importance of video. But then we're also going to go into, Joel's going to talk about actually creating, video and kind of the tips there, implementing it onto YouTube, obviously the impact that it has on SEO, how we can actually utilize this within social media. So we're really going to, again, go from the beginning of how do we create this and why is this important, to now actually implementing it and getting the value out of it as well there. So I always like to kind of start with some stats, and both, Joel and I have kind of put these together to really just kind of show you the growth of video and why video is so important. So the first is just realizing that there are 2 billion unique users that visit YouTube each month. So the amount of traffic that YouTube gets is absolutely astounding. Now, I will say a couple of these, though, is one of them that I love to look at is that 46% of people have purchased directly due to watching a video. So when we start talking about, okay, Ben, yeah, videos may be fun, they may be funny and stuff like that, but what do they actually do for my sales, or what do they actually do for my business? Well, hey, research has been done and is showing us that 46% of people, almost half, have said that they've directly just done a purchase because they watched a video. Also, we're getting into a point that 2/3 of people now prefer watching a video than to reading about a product or service. So we have all of this content, all this text on our site, some of it for users, some of it for marketing, some of it for Google. But the reality is now that the majority of people actually prefer watching a video instead of actually reading it. So it's, again, it's super important that we obviously have both, but this is another indication of why video is so important. And then also the average users spend about 88% more time on a website that has video. So another thing is that if we have video on our site and we can capture people there, then we can get them to actually stay 88% more or longer on our site than if we did not have a video on there. So really, honestly, powerful stats to really, as we get into, the video and getting over that hurdle of being intimidated, of understanding where to start and figuring out all that kind of stuff, is really realizing the first thing is, okay, hey, video's not going anywhere. It's here and it's super important. And that's really, again, what we want people to understand as we go into this.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to turn it over to Joel to kind of start talking about where to start.
So you guys, this is so crucial because I actually used to get all fumbled up and I would overthink it and I'd be like, and I'm sure there's many people, and I saw some of the comments that, yeah, I'm intimidated. I have no idea where to start. Some people, it sounds like they get caught up in the perfectionism of editing. Do I have the right light? I always tell people when I'm educating them or consulting them when they're going to start doing videos or more videos, really identify who is a lot of people say avatar, or who is your client, or who are you speaking to? If you're trying to find a new client, if you're looking to speak to some clients that you already have, but you're trying to sell them maybe an additional service, whatever it may be, really identify who you're speaking to. I always talk to people about preparing. Your environment and surroundings are everything. And it's really simple to find an environment, especially if you know who you're speaking to. Maybe get into their environment, your surroundings, your lighting, outdoor lighting. You guys, we'll talk about the different types of videos that you can do and like the tech and stuff like that. But it's actually fairly simple to create really great video with your phone, using, especially now that it's nice outside, outdoor lighting. There's things like social lights that you can get, or things that you can attach to your phone. There's some mics that you can have that are Bluetooth ready now that you can get. So getting the equipment to make really good, even DIY video is a lot simpler than it was even years ago. So going back to environment, know who you're talking about or know who you're talking to, and then be clear in your messaging. I'll tell you this much. I know my attention span for things. Ben knows my attention span for things. I'm surprised I haven't walked off it. I'm just kidding. But here, be engaging. It's all about the hook right away. When you're talking to people through video, if you get on there and this is where that entertainment piece comes on. And it's tough because people are like, well, I want to be myself, because people say, oh, be authentic, be yourself. But you still have to engage people right away or they're not going to pay attention. It's going to come down to your body language. It's going to come down to the flexion in your voice. It's going to come down to being excited in that first 5 to 10 seconds to know that what they're going to be spoken to about, because then they're going to continue to watch the video moving forward. So maybe it's asking them a rolling question. Maybe it's doing something like that. Whatever it may be, you have to get them engaged right away. So use props when appropriate. Use props. So I own a gym. I'm a personal trainer. I might use a weight in my thing and make it funny. Be yourself. That's the one thing I think I used to get trapped into, is that when people would, or I would be shooting a video, I would have a very scripted thing, and I would be sitting here like this, and I'd be like, hello. That sometimes off the cuff, know what you're going to talk about, but just pretend that you're having a conversation with the camera itself is so crucial. Smile. A lot of you have really awesome smiles. Remember to smile when you're talking. How many of you watched a video that when you're talking, people are like this, they got their closed lips?
Well, I think that's a great point, Joel, that you're kind of making, is, you guys can see all this is kind of coming back to be yourself. Don't be somebody that you're not. I think that, the whole thing, and we've probably heard this with social media, we hear this with influencers, is be authentic. And that's probably the big word to kind of look at, is that if you're not a super extrovert, that's okay. We can still hook people with a message. And if we know the audience, we know the environment, we can still be able to kind of do that. And so, again, it's just really important, again, what Joel's saying, to, make sure that we do that, and to kind of, figure out how to loop all these things into that without obviously overcomplicating it. It really comes down to being authentic.
Right. And one last thing I always try to tell people to do, have a call to action in your video. And it doesn't have to be asking for the sale. So many people think that having a call to action is asking somebody for money or whatever. It doesn't have to be that. It could be like, hey, you guys, I just found this really great article. You guys got to check out this link. I'm going to post it in the comments. Check it out right away. So that call to action could have a link to a blog that you're doing. It could have a link to an article that maybe somebody that you are, like, I could have an article for Skol Marketing to draw attention to Ben's page. And that could, again, lead in the train of adding value back to your business. I always tell people, your repetition is going to really establish your reputation. So always being consistent with your calls to action and building that reputation is so, so important.
Awesome. Well, hey, we actually did have one question, and I wanted just to kind of pose that. And so Kim is actually asking, what does research say about how long it takes for viewers to decide to continue watching a video or leaving it? And I think that Joel actually put that in there under the filming one, and I'll turn that back over to Joel, about the 5 to 10 seconds.
So I think that it's going to come down to, well, so just to define, I just want to make sure I'm answering the question that was asked. The research, it's not so much research, it depends on the video, right? So if you're talking about maybe a serious topic, if you're just trying to get somebody, there's a difference. So a lot of times I'll do a video that I have entertained people right away in that first 5 to 10 seconds. I did a twofer video for my training business, where we did Everybody Loves a Fur. And so I was really excited right away. And then I enrolled a bunch of my clients in it to find out who loves a fur. And I ended up having views on that. The video was like a minute long, and people were watching an average of 45 seconds because they wanted to see who else wanted a fur, right? But it just depends on the video. If you don't hook people in that first 5 to 10 seconds, your views and the length of your views are going to go down. Sometimes people will even say in their open and enrolling thing, hey, you guys, you're going to want to watch this video, and you're going to want to watch it all the way through. The reason being is because I'm going to have something for you at the end that's going to be pretty incredible. And that a lot of times will hook people into getting them to watch the video all the way through.
So yeah, so Kim, it's really getting that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds. Like, again, going back to, we don't have a lot of attention spans across the board. And so we really need to hook someone within 5 to 10 seconds. Now, what exactly that's going to be, Joel kind of talked about a couple of things there, but it's really going to be dependent on what the video is, but realizing that we've got about 5 to 10 seconds. And so the other thing to also, another question, Joel, is what editing software do you suggest?
So we have some professional editing software that we use, but to be honest with you, I'm like the worst Indian ever, and I would have no idea what to do with that stuff. What I will say is my favorite one is called InShot, and this is just literally because I've downloaded not thousands, but probably hundreds of apps to try and figure out which one I really like. Find one that you really, really, really like, and don't just like it, love it. Absolutely love it. Because that is going to be, when you're trying to do your self-editing, that is going to be your best friend when it comes to doing this stuff. Make sure that it's simple to use. make sure that you can understand it and it doesn't take you hours of editing a video. I can throw up a video in 15 minutes if I know what I'm going into. But InShot, that just has been by far my favorite video editing software.
Perfect. I just put that in the chat as well for people. So
awesome.
Awesome. So now moving on a little bit to, okay, what videos should I be creating? The different types of styles, the different production types and qualities, and I'll kind of turn that back over to Joel again to really kind of talk more about, again, Joel, in my opinion too, and obviously we have a huge audience here, is I feel like a lot of times people think that, hey, I need to go hire a videographer at thousands upon thousands of dollars and, again, to create videos. And really, obviously, with the devices we have at our disposal, yes, that may be something to look at depending on what you're trying to do and the quality and the audience you're starting to reach. But I think it's a really good point to, make sure that people realize that we don't always need just this, again, film crew in here. We can actually, within our pocket or within our lap, we have devices that can create really good videos.
Absolutely. So I remember when so I'll tell you a quick story. I remember when I started doing video and I thought, oh my gosh, and I would call these videographers and I'd want to find out how much it was. And video was astronomically expensive at that point. And in some aspects it can be. It depends on how experienced the videographer is, what kind of camera they're shooting with. There's so many things that come into play. But with technology these days, with cameras that you can even buy on your own, or even your phone, the iPhone 11 is a great example, the 10, some of the new Google phones coming out, you can shoot really amazing, clear video with just your phone. But understanding, again, what you're trying to accomplish with that video. And I always tell people having a good mix of DIY, which is do it yourself, or professional production is really, really good. So when you're talking about something on your website, like if you go to your website, Ben builds you this amazing, beautiful website, and the first thing you go to on that website and you see a DIY video and you're like, oh, okay. That would, to me, would say that would be a place where you would want a production type style video, is that first impression on your website, right?
That money shot, if you will, Joel, right?
Huh?
That money shot.
Yeah, right. So if you go to one of my websites, you'll see that we have that production video throughout that website, because that is a first impression for me. Now, if you go to my social media, you'll see a lot more of my DIY videos that's just showing that for my business, what either my clients are doing, or talking about a special that we have, or maybe it's an informational video. The other style video that we talk about, so we've talked about the professional, right? The production style, the DIYs, do it yourself. There's a style of video that's really great on social media, and that's the live video. Live videos are that live button that I know a lot of people are scared of, because it's kind of an impromptu thing. But live videos, when you're talking about social media and the algorithms, are one of the most powerful tools that you can organically reach people that is out there right now. And that's on Instagram, that's on Twitter, that's on anywhere you can go live. If you can build up that courage and build up that practice, live videos is really where you're going to drive that algorithm up. And when you talk about SEO, Ben, I believe that the more live videos you do, the better SEO you get, correct?
Well, so yeah, it all kind of comes in, and we'll kind of talk about that. Really what it kind of comes down to when it comes to those things is that I always tell people create the content, because SEO is going to be revolved around the content. And honestly, with our big notice at the bottom here is repurposing that content, which I know is something you want to get into. Mm-hmm. So the long answer is how we kind of do that. But the short answer is yes, just create, again, video. Right.
So, and I'll say this right now. So I'm right now, my partner Travis is here with a video camera, and then he's got his phone. So this is just an example of repurposing content. So Ben is recording this, which I'll repurpose. Travis is taking video with me on his phone right now, and he's recording me with a professional video camera. So when we talk about creating content, you can don't think that one video, you can take one video, screenshot a part in that video, use that as a picture. Let's say you could use a snippet and edit it down just a part of that video and have a hook right there. If you watch, and again, I've learned this through watching a lot of people as well and what's going on and what is working, but then looking at, and Ben will talk a little bit more about the analytics side of it, about what's working for you as well. What is being a hook? Your analytics will tell you everything once you start creating these videos. One thing on here I will say, if people struggle, like even me, I don't know what to talk about when it comes to my business, and it's our whole life, right? Well, blogs. If you're doing any sort of blogging right now, that is a perfect opportunity for you to talk about something or a subject that you have blogged about, that you already have that piece of content, and all you have to do is put that into a video form. So maybe it's something about, I just use my business as an example, maybe it's something about nutrition. If you're a roofing and siding company, maybe it's talking about what to look for in a roofing and siding company. Whatever that may be, you can turn that into a DIY video and put that out there without too much effort, if that makes sense.
So we are getting some questions, Joel,
Yep.
as you've been mentioning it about orientation. And so I am just going to quickly go back to a screen just to kind of show people. And that, so at the bottom of this, we talk about, again, essentially using landscape and less social media live videos. And the reason for that is most, again, videos for landscape, they're going to be used for like a longer period. Live is kind of in the motion, is going to be kind of selfie mode. And really live videos are meant to be kind of up and down. Whereas, again, when we get into YouTube, even like the later on types of videos on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, a lot of those are going to have a different orientation. So it's usually just really best practice to make sure that we have that orientation more as a landscape, because it's going to be able to be used on a broader audience, and that more importantly though, broader devices. So we don't get those, making ugly black bars on the side. And Joel, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
I think that, so I've experimented with this because I'm, like I said, the worst sometimes when it comes to certain things. It depends on your device, actually. So a lot of the newer devices, landscape is perfect. I have a couple different phones and devices that I use, and I've noticed that you get that landscape version with the newer, like iPhones, Google phones, that kind of thing, Samsung. My iPhone 7, for example, that used to get, when I put in a landscape, it didn't matter, or it wouldn't adjust. So just make sure that you know that what you're working with, and just test that out, if that makes sense. Like it's an easy thing to test out. But yes, a lot of the newer devices.
Yeah.
Industry.
And again, and just to kind of reiterate, these are more, obviously kind of general guidelines, because everything in every industry and every website, you can see just the matrix here of the different production types of videos, and then the different style of video there that obviously, you can have different types of, again, different videos and different combinations. So it's really important to kind of realize, Joel's been giving different types of examples in different situations, but it really is kind of experimenting to kind of see what works, because remember, every industry, every demographic, every business is going to be different, but obviously these are going to have some, again, guidelines to really kind of work with, and really you can kind of customize them from there, but this will give you a really good base and a really good generality of it.
Absolutely. So we had a good question here. Is there, and to get to the bottom of the question, can you have too many videos? I don't know if I would go, just my personal opinion, I don't know if I went to a website and just saw all like a big kaleidoscope of videos, if I would just sit and click on each one. But I will say this, I think it's, at this day and age, it's better to have more video than less.
Yep, and I agree with Joel too, is I wouldn't say, here's my thing is, I would not get hung up on creating too many videos, because also a couple things with it. Yes, there is quality over quantity to a certain point, but and you don't want to make a video that's going to detract completely from your brand. But here's the thing as well, as creating multiple videos is just like anything. It's like riding a bike, is you got to do it more and more, and then obviously you're going to get better at it. So just like anything like that. So I think one of the things is it not only helps you with more content, but then also it gets you more comfortable just even creating videos. Even if you create your first 3 videos and you hate them, at least it's some experience to get, we can get you going to get into creating more high quality ones at a more consistent rate.
One thing I'll say too, your videos on your website are going to be different than your videos on your social media. So people are looking for videos. It's 2 types of videos. So if you're just going to put all these videos on your website, Ben would probably agree from a design standpoint and just a functionality standpoint, you probably want to limit it to maybe it's your certain services or whatever it may be, unless you're highlighting that you're a videographer or something like that. But when it comes to like your Instagram page, your YouTube channel, your Facebook, that's where having a lot of videos is really going to drive. I know just for me, because I utilize Ben, it drives my SEO to the top by having more video than if I didn't have video on those social media platforms. And I think we're getting to all that.
Awesome. Yep. And so we're just going to kind of move it along here. So, so the idea is, okay, so now that Joel's kind of talked about here is, okay, now we've created these videos. And so the idea is, okay, now once we've created those videos, what do we do with them? It's great that we, again, just, did this cool, video on our computer or our phone or had even a film crew come in. But now what do we do, again, once we, again, get those videos created? And the first place to really kind of look at is going to be YouTube. And so the reason we start with YouTube is for a few reasons. One is it's actually the 2nd largest search engine in the world behind Google. Google owns it, and the vast amount of reach that YouTube has is just astounding. And so the other reason that we also want to start with YouTube too is because we don't want to take that video file that we just made on our phone or we just got from our videographer and just put that onto our website. You want to put them onto YouTube because if you just put that video file on your website, it's going to slow it down. And so, what happens then is if we put them on YouTube, we actually use YouTube's servers and their whole speed, and we essentially embed it into our website. And you can, and you can do as many videos as you want. It's free to have a YouTube channel, and you can also, more importantly, have a business channel so that we can obviously, so if you go up and look, Indomitus Media has a YouTube channel. Skol Marketing has a YouTube channel. And so the idea is that's where we want to really kind of start here with YouTube and not only get them up there from a practical standpoint to use on our website, but also infuse them. And we're going to kind of talk about this, how to fully optimize them so that we can get the most out of them and the most amount of people can find them, plus an SEO benefit. So the first thing I just kind of like to run through real quick is that when you look at this is how YouTube is kind of split up is the left-hand side is you're always going to see the things about you. So the channels that you're subscribed to, your history, your purchases, anything like that. But on the right-hand side is where you're actually going to log into your YouTube channel. And the reason I like to mention this is a very simple thing to forget, but can be kind of a bigger mistake. And so a couple things here is you want to make sure that you're logged into your channel. If you don't have a channel, there will be a button in the upper right-hand corner. Mine isn't there because I have a channel. But if you don't have a channel, there'll be a button there that you can actually create one. And again, like I said, there will actually be an option where you can create one for your business. The reason I just point all this out here, though, is that you want to make sure when you're uploading videos that they go to the right channel. If you don't upload the video to the right channel, there is no way to transfer videos from one YouTube channel to the other. And so unfortunately, sometimes we get into this situation and really the only way to do that is to delete the video on one channel and move it to the other, but you would lose all of the comments, all of the stats, and all the analytics and things like that. So it's really important to make sure that we, again, have that. So once we, another thing, a button that you'll kind of notice here, it's kind of outlined in purple, is that's where we can actually upload videos as well, but I'll kind of get into that here in just a second. So when we upload videos, there are kind of a couple different options. So there is kind of the fast way or kind of the slow way as well. And so the idea here is that when you have that video file, all you want to do is at least get it into YouTube. And so what you want to do is that you just want to go through, again, you want to hit upload video, obviously. and you want to, start filling in kind of the details. Really what it is it's a 1, 2, 3 step onto the new YouTube editor. And, YouTube has just been kind of redone, so to speak, this year. They actually just kind of announced it. They made a bunch of, modifications. So if you haven't been in YouTube, more or less kind of the back end, you'll probably be surprised at a lot of the changes there. But one of the changes was the actual uploading process of videos. So, you want to just kind of follow through the steps. And again, I'll kind of get into this a little bit later here. But what I usually kind of like to tell people is when you go through this 3-step process, just go through it as quickly as possible. The reason I say that is that we can't do all the edits that we need to on the video. So sometimes it's easier just to do this really quick, and then we'll go back to the video editor, and then we can actually just fully and all in one kind of spot optimize and update the video as needed. And again, we'll get into that as we get in here. But my recommendation is just to get these as quickly as possible. Honestly, you don't even need to change the title or the description. We'll do that later, but just get them into YouTube. Now, one other thing too, is you're gonna see a lot of things. One of the biggest changes on YouTube right now is there's a lot of, is this video made for kids types of settings. You'll see this in your channel, you'll see this in your videos, and Google, due to some privacy policies and just some legislation and everything like that, is really trying to hone in on content that is appropriate for children or not. Here's the thing with it, is that your content may not be offensive to kids, but unless it was specifically made for kids, just mark no. It doesn't mean that you're penalized. It doesn't mean that you again, have inappropriate content. It just means that it's not specific for kids, or, wouldn't be on a kid's channel. So just remember that, because sometimes that can cause confusion. So there's nothing wrong with saying that your video wasn't made for kids. Again, it's not a negatory thing. It's just making sure that it goes into the right place. So once we get those videos in there, again, we're just gonna try and get them as fast as possible, go through those steps, just boom, boom, boom. Okay, we've got it uploaded, now it's there. Now it goes into, okay, let's go into each one of these videos, and maybe it's one video that we just did, and now let's fully optimize it and edit it. So when we get into our YouTube channel, there's a couple things here you can kind of see. You can kind of see your dashboard. We can get to our channel settings. We can get to our analytics, so we can see all the cool analytics about our channel. Again, I'll just remind you that you'll probably most likely see some notices about the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act that we just kind of talked about. So the other thing to notice too is you may see some verbiage either online or while browsing YouTube about a creator studio. So one of the big changes is Google used to have the program called Creator Studio. They have since rebranded it and revamped it to now YouTube Studio. So, if you see that, just know that Creator Studio was the old one, and now YouTube Studio is really kind of the new one.
Just, if I can interject real quick, you guys, some of this, if you're like staring at it on a computer, is going to be a lot different. All of this is available on your phone too. So if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I got to have a video file, and I have to upload it to this and I have to upload it to that, you can do a lot of this stuff just from your phone, just so you guys are all aware.
No, and that's a great point that Joel brings up, is any of this can be done on an app as well. Now, sometimes it can be easier, I will say, on a desktop if we're making a lot of title changes or descriptions. But honestly, I will say, to Joel's point, is like when I said get your videos up as fast as possible, it honestly is a lot. Sometimes if you have them on your phone, obviously it's a lot quicker to get them from your app. Also, if you're going and editing previous videos, it's honestly a lot easier on your app because it's so much quicker. So that's a great point. Another thing that I also like to kind of point out, and this is a little bit newer, is your channel settings. So obviously your general settings are going to be more or less kind of, just about your channel in general. Then we get into, we can actually add keywords to our channel. We can actually add watermarks to all of our videos. We can actually give access to individuals. So for instance, if you're working like with the digital agency like myself, if maybe you have an intern, maybe you have an employee, you actually don't need to give them your login to YouTube anymore. You can actually just give them access. And so it's a really kind of cool feature that really wasn't utilized as much within YouTube for that. And we can, you can kind of get into all the other kind of stuff with the community and your different reviews and who can access your account or restrict your account. And stuff like that. But spend a little bit of time if you have never spent time in your channel settings, or if you are just creating your account. It'll take you 5-10 minutes and you'll be kind of set to go there. now getting into really the key part here of, okay, now that we've got those videos up there, what and how do we kind of do this? And so we go, really what we want to do is when we have the videos uploaded to YouTube, what we want to do is go to the videos tabs and access these videos. You can see here are all the videos in this channel, and we can click on a video. And what we're going to be able to do now is we're going to be able to do 5 different things to that video. And this is actually a pretty big different user experience than it used to be, again, with the previous kind of back-end editor. And so we're going to go through all 5 of these to really kind of understand that, hey, after we've, built this cool video that Joel kind of walked us through and showed us the different types, and we edited it, on our phone or our computer, now we've got this really kind of cool video. Now let's see what we can also do on YouTube to not only optimize it, but take it to that next level as well. So the first thing is looking at the actual optimization or the words of your video. So the first thing to start with is going to be a title. Now, when it comes to a title, I like to recommend splitting this into 3 different parts. So, and it's best also if we can obviously have some keywords put into this title to obviously help not only describe what the video is, but also have a better opportunity to have it be found in YouTube. Because again, going back to Google owns YouTube. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine in the world. So making sure that we can kind of bring those things together. Now, another thing to kind of know is we want to, split that into 3 pieces, but we also want to make sure that that title is either engaging or also very descriptive. So, usually it's a phrase. It's really going to be just taking some time and really just telling people, either I always like to tell people is there a question that this video is solving? Or obviously telling us right away with the title, what is this video about? Now, after that, if you are a local business and this video is meant to be kind of about more local, demographics, I always like to kind of put a location in there, even if that's Minnesota, if that's Twin Cities, if that's a certain city, because this can really help your search engine optimization. Now, again, if this is meant to be kind of across the US or international, then obviously you don't need to put the location. But a lot of us, if you're a local, if you're a local auto mechanic or you're a local lawn care service, putting a location in there can really have a profound impact. And then last but not least is you want to make sure that your the title or your business name is in there as well. And how you use and kind of split these up with punctuality is going to be up to you. You can use dashes, you can use bars, anything like that, colons. But really you want to make sure that you have those, with different pieces in there. Now, once we have that title, then what we're going to move on to is the actual description of this video. So I like to start out with kind of a call to action and having this link to someplace on your website. So it could be something as simple about as find out more. Or if you're a lawn service and you're doing a video about lawn care, it could be schedule your free estimate. And what you want to do is you want to drop in your actual, we call it your ugly URL. You can't just type in www.skolmarketing.com or just indomitusmedia.com. You need to actually put the ugly URL with the HTTPS. So a lot of times, just to make sure, I tell people to open up in another tab, copy that URL down, and put it into your video. Now, again, you may want to send them to the homepage, but obviously, if you have a service page on your site that's specific to lawn care, send them to the lawn care page. Don't send them to the homepage. Again, this not only creates a call to action for marketing, but this also helps with search engine optimization because now we have a link to your website, which, again, goes into that whole formula and everything about that. So that's a really kind of key critical piece. And the reason we put that at the top as well is because once we get these videos going, it's essentially going to cut off a little bit of there's only going to be about 150 characters that are going to be seen, and then Google's going to cut it off and say read more. So it's great starting with that URL or that call to action because not everyone's going to see it if it's buried because they have to click a button that says read more. But with that, then we also want to, again, take it a little bit further and actually describe this video. Now, again, spending, 3 to 4 sentences describing what this video is about, going a little bit more into detail of what that service in the video is going to do, what that product, really anything that you can add of value, not only to the user, but also think about that you're using this information to communicate to Google as well. And then last but not least is having a boilerplate kind of description of what your company is. So usually this is kind of that mini description that maybe you've used on Facebook or maybe Instagram or Google My Business, whatever it is, but just a quick boilerplate kind of what is Indomitus Media, who is Skol Marketing, and just on every video having that towards the end there. And then what we want to move into is going to be kind of your meta tags or your tags or keywords. And so really what this allows you to do is the main point of meta tags right now is essentially to do, it's a few things. One is we want to put in a lot of our, business name, or if you have anything like misspellings, or, again, you're sometimes related to a certain service or a certain area, we want to put those in there, as well as obviously just any tags, either location-based or actual keywords that can be put into your video that would obviously help describe what this video is about, as well as help Google understand what this video is also about as well. So again, a lot of this, what we're going to be doing here is yes for users, but also even more importantly, or just as important, is going to be communicating it to Google. So Google has all of this information that we can attach to our video and understand what it is. We can also do custom thumbnails. This is also a really fun one to kind of experiment with. You can, Google and YouTube are going to give you 3 options, and you can, upload your own. You can take your own screenshots. You can create custom ones like on Photoshop or Paint. And this is something that we experiment sometimes with clients on to see if changing the thumbnail can actually get better engagement and better, again, just clicks and draw more attention. So it is something to kind of play around with. And another thing that also I had a question about in the chat is that you can see on the far right here, there is actually a visibility. And so with these, you have really kind of 3 main visibility type of permissions. One is public, which obviously means anyone can find it. It can be found on YouTube search. It can be found on your YouTube channel, anything like that. The next one is called unlisted, which essentially means that anybody can find it if they have the link or the URL of your video that you send people, or that person then shares. So you can't control necessarily who's on it, but really it's only going to be for people that actually have your URL. They can't search for it or find it on your channel. And then last but not least is private, where you specifically are going to give them the login or the email that you want this person to essentially have access to. So obviously very restrictive on being able to kind of do that. One quick question is, how do you do A/B testing with thumbnails? Really, honestly, it's kind of experimenting with the different types of videos you have. There's not necessarily a way to actually A/B test them, but I'm saying, like, for instance, if you have, 6 different videos, you can try, again, different styles on them and kind of weigh that and kind of see how it's going, or potentially you could change it later on with the same video, because another thing I always like to reiterate is that you can always go back to these, again, videos and edit them. So another thing that YouTube has within their kind of editor and software is kind of what they call their editor. So again, we can do a bunch of stuff that Joel told us about with his, again, with the apps that we can find on our phones and things like that. But either if we don't have those or after we've done those, then what we can, do as well as we can also do some things within YouTube to be able to, again, edit the video. And so the first thing that we can do is trim the video. Now that's a very common, type of thing that we can do, where we can take this long video. If we have, honestly, I'll be using that using that feature for this particular webinar, where we had a lot of stuff prior to going live with our actual workshop, and we can actually kind of trim it out. So what we're able to do is, be able to, again, kind of trim the different pieces. So we can maybe make a shorter video. We can make We can maybe cut a certain piece out, whatever it may be. We can, we're able to obviously, again, kind of trim that video. Another thing that we're able to do is to blur. Now, this is really, again, powerful if you have people in your video that you either didn't get permission for, or you don't have their, you didn't have their permission for, or you're maybe worried about that they're in your video and you don't want them in your video. You can actually blur them out. Another really important thing to potentially look at blurring is if you get people's addresses or their license plates. It's a really good, again, kind of feature to look at, again, kind of just simply blurring that out. Another kind of cool thing that we can do is audio. Now with audio is we're able to actually add different types of jingles and tracks to, again, our, video and fade them in, fade them out, put them at certain positions, and we're able to do that completely copyright free. So it's, again, it's really interesting. It's really, again, can add a super high value to your video, especially, for instance, if you've got a lot of background noise and you don't necessarily need to talk during the video. Maybe you're doing a behind the scenes video. Maybe you're doing, you're doing any type of other video that, you're not talking to or sound isn't necessarily needed. It's just maybe potentially added to the experience. We can go ahead and actually, look to add that to it. And then, like I said, you also have about 150,000 plus different audio clips that you can actually, again, look at and, again, get into. One of the other things that you're actually able to do as well is add an end screen. Now, every video here should have an end screen. What this essentially is a call to action of your video. And so obviously with an end screen, it's going to be at the end of your video, and we're able to do certain things. We can send them, for instance, to our YouTube channel. We can recommend another, YouTube video. We can look to actually have them subscribe to our YouTube channel, which obviously is super important. It's just like getting followers. It's just like getting followers for our, Facebook account or our Instagram account, anything like that. We're able to look at and be able to kind of do that. I actually prefer, there's actually a couple templates that actually blend these together where I can send people either to our channel and ask them to subscribe, or say, hey, check out this next video. Plus look at, again, subscribing to our video, or look at this cool playlist of videos that I have as well. So, it's really good to be able to kind of, experiment with those, and you can kind of position them around. You can kind of see that on this black screenshot here. You can see that you can kind of position them differently so that you're not blocking the content on your site as well. So one of the questions is for the intro and outro kind of, slides or screens. How do we create those? Well, obviously we have the end screen here that we can kind of create, but if you actually want an intro screen, that's honestly where a really good app, like Joel was talking about before, really kind of comes into play. I will say that unfortunately YouTube does not have a very good or really a solution at all for adding kind of an intro screen. It's kind of, to be honest with you, a little flabbergasting at times because it's such an easy thing to kind of do. But unfortunately, YouTube doesn't have that. So that's a great question for like your intro slides or your intro screens for videos. But unfortunately, again, like YouTube doesn't have that. So you'd want to use one of those apps that Joel had talked about previously. So, and we'll get into, I've got some other kind of questions coming in here, and just so you guys know, is we'll make sure that we get into those, from there. So, one other thing kind of moving along just to, again, kind of do this is, okay, hey, we've got our video now created. We've got our video on there. Now what, again, and we've got it optimized with our title, with our description, with our tags, with all of this, again, other kind of cool stuff. Now what we need to do is, we've edited it, we've, blurred it, we've done all that kind of cool stuff. Now what we can also do for further optimization, but also for accessibility and also just broader reach, we can look to add subtitles and closed captioning. Now, YouTube does have a function within the system that allows you to, it automatically actually transcribes your video. But the thing is, I really implore you to take this step further and actually upload your own kind of script. Now, a couple ways that you can do this is that there is a system where you can actually just start typing out, you can watch your own video and start typing out the script. The other way that I honestly highly recommend, unless you like doing that and you're a fast typer, is to use a system like Fiverr.com, where you can actually hire someone. All you have to do is give them the link, and you can actually have them transcribe it. They'll actually put it into timestamps. And a lot of times, depending on obviously the length of your video, the speed at which you want to get it and whatnot, you can, again, that can cost you maybe $5, $10, $20, which most likely, again, will kind of be a time saver for you. But again, if you want to do it yourself, you can also do that and, again, upload it yourself. Write it yourself. If you are working with a video crew, that is something that's a benefit. They would actually give that to you. The other benefit to having these closed caption everything there is, again, it gives Google more information on what they can, again, see about your video. So again, all this is about creating a good video, but then communicating as much as possible to Google and YouTube on what this video is about. Another really kind of cool one, and I know we've already mentioned kind of Facebook Live and, Instagram Live, those different types of platforms. But what we also have, is YouTube Live. And YouTube Live can work really well if you're trying to do different types of events. We've worked with a lot of different clients to do their conferences, their seminars, and things like that, where they're able to, again, be able to do, YouTube Live. So another kind of cool thing about YouTube Live as well, guys, is that you actually can, it actually create it into its own YouTube video. So automatically. So what's really kind of cool about that is that you can have this, this cool YouTube Live, and then it automatically dumps into a video. So I know Joel wanted to kind of chime in here and chat a little bit there, so I just unmuted you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Sorry, I'm muted and then I got kicked off on my computer. So I'm back in on my phone because I don't know what's going on with my computer, unfortunately. There were a couple questions. I know if Ben addressed them while I was briefly off the webinar, but Vimeo versus YouTube. And I know, for example, I've used both just because of different people I've worked with on the integration side who have encouraged one way or the other. Ben, do you have any input on that, or did you already speak to that?
No, we actually didn't, and it's a great question when you start comparing Vimeo to YouTube. And so here's really the big thing, is that YouTube is going to give you, again, hands down the best SEO value. Now, again, where it might make sense to potentially do Vimeo is that if you have a very, a certain type of video that either you don't want necessarily public, maybe you want people to download it. There are certain more things that you can do with your channel on Vimeo. But I will say, for most business owners that we deal with, YouTube is the one, because it's going to give you that extra SEO benefit. But there are certain kind of creative circumstances. Like I said, if maybe you have a certain video that you want to keep, again, more private, you want people to download, maybe you want to actually look at your Vimeo channel and customize it a little bit more for, potentially branding purposes. That's when you can look at kind of Vimeo. But I would say overall, YouTube most likely is going to be your best option when you consider all of the, again, remaining items and values that are in there. So to kind of, again, get us kind of through this, I know we're kind of bumping up on time, and I apologize for that, guys, but we're going to just kind of keep it going. So the other benefit too, again, and that's honestly a great segue into why we obviously use YouTube, is it has a phenomenal impact on SEO. So on your search engine optimization, on being found, on being able to, again, try and improve the ranking of your website and your brand. Because essentially what happens is these videos can actually show up organically on a Google search, Obviously, they can also be found on YouTube. And as people want to see videos more and more, we're actually getting more, like, for instance, business searches done on, on YouTube via video. But the other kind of cool thing about it is that here's the idea, is that if someone searches for auto mechanic in Maple Grove, the idea is we want as many opportunities to be on that search engine. So, again, and that's where running ads, having a good local listing, having your website, now potentially a video, we have more opportunities to actually be found. And so it's really important, again, to obviously create all these videos, but it's just as important. A lot of times it's forgotten about, really honestly, the impact that video can have on SEO. People ask me almost every year all the time of that, hey, Ben, what's like the new thing on SEO? What should I really be focusing on? And really honestly, the number one answer that I'm going to give you is video. Not only from a competitive advantage, because a lot of your competitors probably aren't doing this, not only from a marketing standpoint because of some of the stats we've talked about, but also because of the value this can have and the profound impact it can have on your rankings. And I know, like, for instance, we've seen that. I know Joel with, again, his companies have actually seen that too. Again, it's not only just the marketing and the social impact and the branding, it's this other SEO impact that also is there. So real quickly, just to let you know too, is you can also see all of your different YouTube analytics. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so
go ahead, Joel.
Not only am I a part of, like, the video, not only am I a part of the video, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Yep. Okay. Not only am I part of the video creation, when Ben talks about SEO, the importance of the SEO to this, it is legitimately one of the reasons that I rank organically in my businesses, from my gym to my personal training company. I rank organically. I don't pay for ads. Actually, other companies have actually said to Ben, who's this Apex guy or who's this gym guy, who are ranked number 1 and number 2 organically. They have to buy ads because they have to actually pay ads for Google to rank higher than me on SEO when I'm doing it organically, week in and week out. And that is part of the reason I do the video that I do, just for my own businesses. So if you guys are questioning it, I mean, it is so valuable to SEO. Then this is just me as a business owner telling you, I think it's the number 1 thing that you can start doing to rank organically in SEO to be found by more people. So.
Yeah. No, perfect. And it's great to kind of have that perspective too, coming from, again, you, Joel, of just, owning a couple businesses and seeing how that kind of works. And so another thing too that we kind of saw from the beginning is that, not every time, and obviously it depends on the quality and the circumstance, but we actually see a lot of times videos can perform or convert better too, because of what we just kind of talked about, that people prefer seeing them. So definitely, obviously, you can see that this whole presentation is get video into your marketing strategy. But the idea then also is with, analytics, the one that I just want to show you on is the retention. The retention analytic is my favorite because it's so cool in my perspective, in that what it does is that, everyone that starts watching your video at 1 second, 100% of people that hit play are there 1 second in. But what happens in 24 seconds? What happens in 1 minute and 47 seconds? What happens in 2 minutes and 30 seconds? How many people are still there? And that covers a couple things. One is, we've had some questions of, hey, Ben, how fast do we need to, again, kind of capture people? Well, studies have shown that it's at 5 to 10 seconds, but your own videos can also prove this and see if there's any different or anomalies by looking at that. We've also had some questions in the chat of, Ben, how long should a video be? And the problem, or I shouldn't say, like, the problem with that is that there's no really right answer. And what I mean by that is it really depends on what your video is about. If you're doing a long, obviously, video like this, well, then it's okay to have something that's 30, 40, 60 minutes, again, long, because it's more informational. So normally the more informational your videos are, then, again, the longer they can be. The more kind of quick, potentially either sales or, event or just kind of, hey, quick update, those want to be shorter. Normally when we start to do kind of, when we work with clients on videos, a really good place to kind of start is usually kind of that 15 to 60 seconds, because those can really, you know, again, it's still a pretty short time. You can get a lot of information in there about your business, about your service, about a topic, and you kind of grow from there. So there's really no one way, but one way to start to kind of look at this is you can look at your retention rates and your retention analytics to help you kind of understand that a little bit further. So, you know, we've talked this whole time about obviously getting these videos created, getting them edited, getting them into YouTube to not only help us, you know, again, get them into YouTube and have them on our website then as we embed them, have them helping us for SEO. But one of the biggest ones that obviously we've alluded to at the beginning, but which is a huge, powerful impact for video, is social media. Now, here's kind of the interesting part about it and why all of these kind of things work together, is that when we do video for social media, we're mainly going to have an instant kind of impact. Is the way that obviously social media works is newer content is towards the top and is digested and then slowly kind of goes off. Doesn't mean that someone can't find your video, but the likelihood is that they're, you know, the majority of it's going to be digested, you know, within 7 days, and most likely even shorter than that. Whereas on YouTube, on the other end, unless you have a ton of subscribers, but a lot of times there's more of a long-term value. You're going to get a long-term SEO value. You're going to build up, you know, again, kind of followers or, for instance, views and comments and stuff like that over time. So it's really important to kind of bring these together, because then we get the most out of instant and the most out of long-term impact as well. And I know Joel wants to talk a little bit more about social media video with you guys on how to utilize this video and also how to, you know, reiterate how to create some video within these platforms as well.
So I'll just start off with saying, think of like YouTube, and I think this was explained to me in a webinar I was on before. Think of like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, even Twitter. Think of that like your checking account, and think of YouTube almost like your savings account. So you can, you know, not only store your videos, but people can find certain things. They can go to different things. And I'll talk a little bit quickly about having kind of a plethora and understanding. First, I'll simplify it. Go to your business pages, if you have them, and find out where, or even your personal pages, find out where your biggest audience is. Because I think so many people start by trying to build build an audience on every single platform. And that's a lot of work. I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. I'm learning a lot about YouTube right now because I haven't been, this is just me being real with you. YouTube was clunky for me. It was not user friendly, and been just, you know, now they've made it that way. And so we are getting going on that. But Instagram, Facebook, that's where I thrive. So I know that a lot of my audience is there. So that's where I spend a lot of my time, is on those two platforms. But if you're going to try and create a huge following on every single platform, it's a big job. It is. So identify where you're going to have the most impact when it comes to your social media. And for most of you, it's Facebook, I'm assuming, and maybe some of you Instagram, but then drive that home. Drive that home. Doing really well with those, the way that the algorithms work, at least this week, is the king for Instagram, Facebook is live video. It will drive you organically to see more views, and what they're judging you on is interaction, because Facebook and Instagram want interaction. So comments, likes, hearts, whatever it may be, that's really going to drive your stuff up organically. So talking about how does this work in relation to, Ben has talked about how Google, YouTube, they're connected. It's all driving people to really one place and source. So if you think when you're shooting video, you want people to you want to drive them to either your business Facebook page, or you want to drive them to your website, right? And the more clicks that you get on your website, the more people going to your website to see what you're really about is what's better. And so I don't mean to just get off in a crazy land there, but really, again, to reiterate, find what platform works best for you, where your biggest audience is right now, and then really drive to that audience there, and then get them to wherever it is that the destination that you want to go. So if that is your website, if that is your YouTube channel, whatever it may be, and that is where then you can start engaging your customers more with videos that you've already shot or whatever is on your website, and so on and so forth. And hopefully in turn, they become a buying customer.
And I think what we're seeing here is that, the idea here is if we really want to be, again, successful across the board with all marketing, just like, or if you want to be successful across all platforms, we got to be on all the platforms and engaging and putting video on that, and potentially do an Instagram live and then a Facebook live. Now, obviously that can be kind of intimidating. And, as Joel and I kind of laid out here is, and Joel made a great point there, is pick one platform and kind of start and kind of build it out there. Now, what I will say though, is we can, for instance, if you do a Facebook live video, even though it is, the orientation is different, that's fine. If it was meant for that platform, we can still put that on YouTube. And also if we maybe want to start with, if we're doing more of we're doing more of a service video that doesn't need to be Facebook live right now, or I don't want to do that type, then like for instance, if we do an infographic or an animation video or something like that, well, hey, we can start it on YouTube and then also share that on Facebook. And I think one thing that I always like to kind of point out, because I think it goes back to that authentic, is obviously it's going to depend on the situation, it's going to depend on the business, but also realize the word authentic also goes down into the actual technical file. And what I mean by that is, all these platforms want you to upload the actual file to their site, and they don't want you to just do a link. What I mean by that is Facebook doesn't want you to share your YouTube link onto their site because it's going to take traffic away. So to increase your engagement or your likelihood of people seeing that, you want to take that MP4 file and actually upload it to Facebook. Again, you can obviously share the YouTube link if you want, but studies have shown time and time again, and with the algorithm changes, especially since Facebook video came out and Instagram video and LinkedIn video and Twitter video, have to understand that now literally every single one of these platforms that you see on the screen there has their own video platform. So you want to try as much as you can to not share links as much and really kind of have that, have that link be uploaded, because even that part, from a technical aspect looks more authentic to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to Twitter.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Well, and, so now that we've got all of this kind of stuff there, it's also kind of important to realize, and this goes back to what Joel was talking about at the beginning, is repurposing, content. Now, it may have a little bit different type of quality or impact or anything like that on different platforms, as you can see here, is like, so for me, when we use video for websites, it has a lot of SEO impact, especially if it's on YouTube. It's very informational. It really helps with your reputation and kind of your retention of keeping them on our website so we can do that call to action, and it has brand. For social media, I'll turn it over to Joel to kind of talk a little bit about that as well, but you can kind of see that we have different values here.
Yes. So there's so much, you guys, and I want us to be real clear with you. If you're sitting there feeling like, oh my gosh, this seems like so much more than I thought, this almost feeling overwhelming, if we get, put your hand up or a thumbs up if you feel overwhelmed right now by even more. Because I've been in your shoes. Honestly, I have. And I will say this, and I say this all the time to people, just start and be open and willing to learn from mistakes that you make. But not posting is just not posting, not doing social media, not doing YouTube, not doing video is just as detrimental to your business as is doing a wrong video. Does that make sense? Like, you can't put out a wrong video. Does that make sense?
We kind of talked about it at the beginning, Joel, is that, anything, and I know we've had some people say, hey, Ben, is there, that quality versus quantity, or is there a bad video that you can do? Not really, in the sense of, yes, there may be some videos that if you're shaking the camera and it's not even watchable or something like that, that's going to maybe have an adverse effect to your brand. But if you just hate being on camera and you think that you look stupid or you didn't like yourself, it's okay. I can guarantee you it's not as bad as you think. And B, you're getting more experience to be able to kind of do these things. I know that this is overwhelming. Joel knows that this was overwhelming for him, and he knows that's why he does video production. This is why we do SEO, but this is also why we try to teach people, because these are things that you can do on your own. And it just, even if it's taking one small step, I know we've talked about all these things, and we've talked about that you need to post them on all the platforms. That's okay, but that's the end goal. If right now we can do a Facebook Live video, or right now we can just, do a video on our phone and upload it to YouTube, that's phenomenal. That's a first start. And think about that, probably most of your competitors aren't even doing that. So that little bit of effort right there and kind of getting over that fear can really have a profound impact on your marketing, on your social, on your SEO, and on your video.
Absolutely. So from a social media standpoint, like we've touched on, you guys, we just want to make sure everything that you do with your social media will affect your SEO. And I tell you that from experience. We've talked about direct uploads, attracting social users daily. We've talked about that. Social media, live video, we've talked about that being, for the algorithms, are so important that you're doing lives. It'll drive your organic traffic. I think we've really hit home a lot of information. And I know, Ben, do you have a place for comments and questions here at the end?
Yep. So it's kind of funny you just said that. So I just put one in there just to make sure you guys have your comments, because we are going to start winding down here. And so actually, I'll just kind of start to recap everything and start to wind this down so we can kind of get into the questions kind of part. So really, and I know we've already done some quick recaps throughout the presentation, but just really understanding, again, guys, the importance of video. Not only do we have that, if we have it on our website, people stay 88% longer. Not only do we have, 66% of people prefer, again, watching a video than reading text. 46% of people said, hey, they watched a video and they made a purchase decision because of that exact video. That's super powerful things that if we're not doing video, then we need to be able to kind of do. And so it's just making sure and trying to figure out, where do we start? Joel talked about looking at our environment, looking at our demographics, looking at the different styles of videos that we can use the devices in our pockets. We can look at the ones in our laps. We can, potentially hire a videographer, kind of understanding, again, where we are potentially in the marketplace and how we want to present ourselves. But really, at the end of the day, making sure that we are being authentic. And then really looking at, I know it seems kind of complicated when we walk through this stuff of putting this on YouTube, but trust me, once we walk through it a little bit easy, a couple times, or you get in there and you kind of do it, it really becomes kind of clockwork. And it's just, okay, hey, we got to put a title in here. We got to put a description. We, again, have to make this visible. And then also on social media is, yes, I know it's a lot of platforms, but for instance, maybe it's using Hootsuite. Maybe it's, again, if you have some help internally, this is more, honestly, sometimes it's really cool, because a lot of times some of the things that we get for questions or concerns about social media is, Ben, I don't have enough content. Well, hey, perfect. We just created a video, and like we kind of talked about, repurpose that content. Make your blog that you just wrote into a video. Make your video that you just did, splice that up, and make that into mini videos that you can share on social media. So the idea is to repurpose this content to not only your website, your SEO, your marketing, your social media. It has such a profound and, sprawling, So with that said is, guys, if you want to drop some of your questions in there, we'll kind of start to take those. Just as a reminder, we will be recording this and putting this onto YouTube, as well as emailing the presentation out. So I do have one question that came in. It says, I found when I used to do videos, I do a practice video, record it before I went and did the live one to eliminate fears. And honestly, that is a phenomenal suggestion, Callum. Again, like practicing before you do it. I can guarantee you the first one is probably not going to be up to your standards and you're going to hate it. So practice a little bit. Joel and I, again, jumped on and just even getting familiar with some of the tech. We had a little bit even a tech issue at the beginning here. Just try to smooth some of those things out and to kind of eliminate some of those things that can either cause fear, cause frustration. So we got another question from Kim that says, how do we strategize with videos based upon our demographics of certain platforms? Is there a preferred amount of time based upon platform? And so I'll answer that real quick, and I'll turn it over to you, Joel, too, for your opinion, is that per platform from a demographic standpoint, obviously with social media, you're going to potentially have some different demographics, but I would say more or less it's going to be what you're conveying is, again, like with your different services, with your different resources, there's obviously different demographics you can be reaching. And that, in my opinion, is more or less going to be determined the time. But I will say, and I'm sure, Joel, you can kind of agree with me too, is most likely social media tends to be shorter videos because it's a little bit less attention span, whereas on YouTube, they tend to sometimes be a little bit longer because you have someone's kind of attention a little bit further. But I want to turn it over to you to get your perspective.
So I just want to be so I think it comes back to knowing where your audience is, number one. I'm not a Snapchat person. I just can't. Ben likes to snap me things, and I rarely pay attention. But I don't have an audience on Snapchat. And I think it's really it comes down to really honing and knowing where your audience is, knowing where your potential customer is. If my potential customer as a business owner was, 25 years old, I would probably be on, I don't even know the age range on Snapchat anymore, 20 to 25 years old, I would be there. If you're really, right now the hottest app out there is TikTok, right? Everybody's at home.
Video creation.
Yeah. Everybody's at home watching TikTok videos. And that's a whole nother platform that people and entrepreneurs and business owners are now using and jumping onto. And I can't even speak to you on that, but what I will go back to is if you know that whatever your business is, and you know that you are speaking to 18 to 25 year olds, and you know that 18 to 25 year olds are on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, then I would be making those videos for those three platforms. If your customer then becomes somebody who is 35 to 55 or 35 to 50, and you're speaking to them about something, maybe it's whatever it is, know that they're probably going to be on Facebook. And I think, or YouTube. I would just know your audience, and I think we've covered that. Know who you're speaking to, know who your avatar is, and that will help you decide what platform you're going to post on. It's going to help you decide what the attention span of that user is and who you're speaking to and the content that you create. I use a strategy with Travis called content bucketing, and I'm a super simple person. So we have Post-it notes everywhere, and we talk about only a certain amount of things when it comes to our businesses, because we don't like to make it too complicated unless there's an issue that we think is really important. But for my training business and my gym business, it's movement, nutrition, and motivation. That's our inspiration. That's the 30 things that we really try and focus on to keep our people engaged. So when we're thinking about those three things, then you can say, oh, we found a cool recipe. Oh, here's a workout idea. Oh, here's something inspirational or a funny quote about going to the gym. So that's how we kind of structure it. And then we can target our audience from there. Does that make sense? I hope that answers the question without getting too
So we had
crazy.
another question kind of come in that says, should videos that will ultimately be shared on Facebook and Instagram, again, be edited as much as possible with InShot and iMovie, or should we upload them to YouTube first? And so any video, I would say, honestly, you're going to have a better editing experience by using like an InShot or an iMovie. As you kind of talked about, YouTube is cool, and it has some basic kind of functionality, and there's some cool things that we can obviously do with jingles or even blurring and stuff like that you may or may not be able to do on some other platforms. But I would say kind of using a blend of them, but it would probably be nice if you are using an editing app to try to edit that as much as possible on there before we upload it to Facebook, before we upload it to YouTube, and potentially kind of take it again, a step further as well.
Yeah. And again, when I talk about editing apps, find one that there's a lot out there. And some people really just love iMovie. Travis wrote down a couple of Hit Film Express. I can't read his handwriting. Adobe Creative Cloud. And what's the last one?
Windows Movie Maker.
Windows and Movie Maker are some other editing softwares that you can take a look at. Are those apps?
Yeah, there's some of it is, but Hit Film Express is a free one, and it's professional grade. Hit Film Express is like combining Premiere and After Effects.
Gotcha. So, and we'll put that information into the comments and stuff too. But just know that there's stuff out there. The biggest thing that I'll tell people is find one that fits for you. Because I'm not a professional video editor, but some of these apps can make you feel like one, and they're quick and they're easy because you don't want to spend too much time, especially in a DIY video, just editing. So if let's say you shoot a 15-second, 30-second video, and then you spend 3 days editing it, you get frustrated, throw your phone, and then nothing gets uploaded, nothing gets done, then that defeats the point, right? Because I've been there. And so I speak simplicity to people because, and it's everybody's different. Keep it simple, especially in the beginning. Just start, hey, I'm going to shoot a 30-second how-to video for my business. I'm going to edit it in InShot because Joel just told me that that's the easiest one to do. I'm going to upload it right away to YouTube because that's what Ben told me to do. And then boom, done. And then go to the next step. Then email Ben and be like, Ben, I don't know what to do with this video now that's on YouTube. What do I do? And then Ben will answer you. And then it just kind of cascades from there. And the more actions that you take with this, you're going to get better at it, just like anything, right? So that's my biggest things I can say.
Well, we got one more question before we kind of wrap it up here. And the final question is Ben, should I go ahead and delete past videos that, again, either weren't up to our standards or on our YouTube channel that have been there for years? I would say no, because a couple things. One is they probably have at least a little bit of value. Now, potentially you could unlist them, or if you feel they're detracting from your brand, maybe potentially you can move them into a different folder or file and stuff like that. The other thing too is, remember, from an SEO perspective, just having them on there, it's very similar like a blog post. Just having a blog post actually helps because we're trying to communicate with Google. Yes, it helps if you have a ton of comments on your blogs or a ton of views, but even just you go ahead and writing a blog also helps. Same thing with video. Just having those videos there is really going to kind of help you. So I would say don't try and delete unless you feel that it's extremely, again, detrimental, which I doubt it is because you did upload it at one point, or you can kind of try and move it to another folder. But really try not to delete that stuff because, again, it is going to have a benefit for you. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Like we said, we'll actually be recording this, or we have been recording this, and we'll be putting this on YouTube for you guys to review later. If you have any questions or need more information, you can see our contact information here. We're more than happy to obviously answer questions now, but also remember, keep us in mind. If you just have some questions, once you get going doing video, we're here for you. We're here just to answer questions. Joel and I love doing that type of stuff, so you can reach out to us. And so again, I really want to appreciate you guys coming. If you like our workshops, I encourage you to check out more of the stuff that we do. And we're looking to do more and more kind of with Indomitus and other partners too, so stay tuned. And I'll turn it over to Joel for one last goodbye as well.
Hey, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Ben, for having me on. And hopefully, like Ben said, if you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help consult you, whatever it may be, even just give you a jump start on maybe shooting that first video. We can help. So Ben, thank you again. Thank you everybody for your time and attention, and let us know how we can serve you.
Perfect, guys. Thanks. Skol.
Skol.